This is the RV Game Changer. In this podcast, we will speak with manufacturing leaders, component suppliers, dealers, subsector innovators, influencers, and industry experts who all believe RVing is good for our environment. It's good for our economy. It's great for our family values and overall well-being. With your help, we can improve the RV experience for everyone.
Ready to buy or sell your RV? Visit RV Wheelaker. If you're selling your RV, we offer a retail-to-retail experience and will guarantee you a buyer at your agreed-upon price. Who else can say that? Only RV Wheelaker. Buying a pre-owned RV? Experience transparent pricing and top-notch customer service at RVWheelaker.com, where you'll buy your new-to-you RV directly from the owner. RV Wheelaker, where your adventure begins.
Ex-gens and baby boomers, pay attention. Tony Provost is a licensed expert with incredible insight on how to best plan for your retirement. Many of us dream of having RV adventures later in life, but we waited a bit too long to plan for this dream. What if there was a way to accelerate our plans by using little-known money management techniques which grow your savings and remove the often devastating downside of the market? This is where Tony Provost comes in. Tony has the knowledge and a lifetime of experience on how to use his unique no-risk strategies, which removes all the guesswork and downside from what we get from traditional methods of investing. Reach out to Tony and find out what the richest people in the world are doing with their money. You can do it too. Today's episode of RV Game Changer is brought to you by RVing Today TV. If it has anything to do with RVing and camping, you can bet you'll see it on RVing Today TV. Celebrating its 14th year, RVing Today TV is the #1 weekly RV and camping lifestyle show in the country. Available on major television stations and sports networks nationwide, as well as various streaming media platforms. Visit RVingToday.tv, where you'll find the list of stations and networks carrying the show, along with additional stories, news, and contests. Today on RV Game Changer, we have the pleasure of meeting Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground magazine and Midwest editor of RV Business magazine. He coordinates with several freelance writers from around the U.S., producing monthly magazines with tens of thousands of subscribers. Woodall's Campground magazine has been a staple in the campground industry for close to 90 years. The online complement to the monthly magazine, WoodallCM.com, offers daily news, photos, videos designed to provide campground and RV park owners the insight and information they need to improve their operations and stay current with what's going on in the campground industry. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Ben Quiggle to the RV Game Changer Show. Welcome, Ben.
How you doing? Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You know, it's been a little while since we chatted, since way back in the All Things RV days. And we did a little bit on RVing in New England as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a little while since I've been able to be on that show. So they invited me here recently, but I wasn't able to make it. So it's great to be on this show, though.
Yeah, Ben, you know, Woodall's Campground magazine has been around since the 1930s. And, you know, to be honest, you don't look a day over 45. Like, how do you maintain such a beautiful facial? You know, I mean, what are you doing? Tell us the secret.
Yeah, I came around a little bit later. So I think Sherman Goldenberg, who you knew, has been around for 30 to 40 years. So he's probably got the most time on us at Woodall's. So, but I've been working here at the magazine for around 7 years now. So
7 years. Okay. Yeah. And how long have you been editor?
7 years. I was
hired the whole time. You came in and gave you the big job right off the top.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's been great because I came in, you know, a few years before COVID, and then obviously COVID transformed quite a bit of things and to where we are now. So just being able to come in and work with the magazine and see what it was like before COVID, and then see the transition to where we are now. It's been great. So, yeah.
All right. So, you know, what are some of the services that Woodall's Campground magazine offers to the campground industry?
Yeah. So, I mean, Woodall's Campground Magazine is mainly focused as a trade publication for park owners and investors and stuff like that. But we do keep up on industry trends and stuff that RVers are interested in as well. So, we have the print magazine that we send out to our subscribers. It's free. You can subscribe on our website, and we'll mail it to your home. We also update our website, woodallcm.com. We update that on a daily basis with news and information 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And
Okay.
then we also offer like an email. So if you sign up for our email, we actually send you the daily headlines and directly to your inbox every day. We also have a podcast that we do, WCM's Park Update. You can find the videos on the website. And we also highlight suppliers in the industry through our supplier showcase segment that we do as well. So just a variety of different things. And we produce our own news. We also take news from other news sources. So like we're following new developments, expansion projects throughout the country. And then, we work with like Campgrounds of America and Jellystone and those kind of places too to
Some of the
generate
big names. Yep.
generate press releases and get the information out there. So, yep.
Oh, that's wonderful. And before we
Yeah.
dig into each one of those segments that you just mentioned, is you think there's something in it for the end user, the RVer themselves? Because, RVers get a lot of information that's misinformation, but sometimes seeing it from the industry standpoint might give them a better perspective on how they can maybe improve their quality of RVing.
Yeah, I think there's value in that, and we do have RVers that follow us, and on our social media,
Yep.
you can see them engaging with us. The Jellystone is a prime example. There's actually a really good Jellystone Jellyheads fan group that people follow, and they love following Woodalls because they love seeing all the news on the corporate end on what Jellystone is doing as far as new parks and like new additions and things like that. So I think there's value from the RVer perspective because they can see what the campground industry is doing, what's coming down the road, what challenges park owners are facing, and also get some insights into camper trends and things like that that kind of guide decisions. So
This is off track a little bit, but I used to go to Jellystone out in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, growing up.
yeah.
And I always wondered why they didn't give us a picnic basket or something with some jelly sandwiches in it.
I don't know. Maybe that's a suggestion for
we got to put that on the list. So
they wake up bears at the beginning of the season, which I've always been told you don't want to poke a bear. So I don't know if waking up a bear is a good idea, but I guess they do it at Jellystones. So
yeah, I guess if you have one, you might as well make them miserable and see if they get too angry about it. Yeah, that's really like a safe thing to do in front of children. Anyway, so I've noticed a portion of the information on the Woodall's Campground magazine provides new trends in the campground industry. Let's talk about the evolution of campgrounds from when the magazine started, like when you started back in 1938 or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. Until now. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we can even go back before the magazine. So we actually, if you go to our website, we actually wrote a profile on one of the oldest parks in the country not too long ago, Libby's Oceanside Campground, and it's in Maine, and so in the northeast section, and the same family has owned it for 101 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and I mean, you can get some really great insights into what the early camping looked like. They had the tents, they had the older vehicles with like some weird tent structures on it.
Have you ever been to the Smithsonian to see like the U.S. history? And they have this big RV area, and they show some of these old trucks that people have made up these contraptions. They're amazing.
Yeah, and this park is right on the ocean. And I mean, if you look at the pictures nowadays, you got RVs like 50 feet from the water, the water pretty much. So it's an incredible park. And, you read about the original, what's interesting is they were providing electricity to these campers in the 20s. So, I mean, you
Oh,
know,
wow.
the electrical aspect of it's always been there. They mentioned the household luxuries, so they were providing whatever luxuries they could to the people as they were camping. And one of the people at the park in a previous interview had mentioned they couldn't understand why people needed electricity with tents, but they wanted the electricity. So I guess maybe for a
I
light or
think they
something.
had radios back then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, something like that. And then,
Yeah.
you know, just in this one profile alone, you can kind of see the evolution. And they talk about how, you know, it started small and then they grew, and the RVers got bigger and longer, and they had to add more amenities. And then obviously, as the modern RVs came along, they added hookups for the RVs. And you know, to where we are today, we're, you know, an RV, you know, a lot of them have full hookup sites now. So you know, you got your electricity, sewer, water all at the site. And, you know, and then we're starting to get into the glamping. And I mean, we're doing solar power now. It's just
Well, you're hanging
incredible.
out with a couple of
Yeah.
yurts right behind you, so that's kind of a new way of glamping, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, you have the yurts there's a place that was going to retrofit helicopters to be glamping units. You got shipping containers now. They're pretty
Wow.
much using any container they can to make a glamping unit now, or at least testing it out. And, you know, you got these treehouse resorts. So it's been quite a transformation. You know, I think people, as technology modernizes, they want to bring that with them. They want to be outdoors. But you know, whether you were in the 20s and electricity was the cool thing to have, they wanted to have that. And now we're all the way, you know, to where we are today. And you know, people want
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and all that streaming. They want to be able to stream. They want, you know, in the RVs. Well, you've seen it in the RVs. I mean, they pack a ton of technology in those RVs now. So
Oh, the latest and greatest, and it
yeah,
seems like the evolution has been just a lot in the last like 5 or 6 years. There's been a big uptick of
yeah,
changes where people said, like I started in the industry about 15 years ago, and a lot didn't change for the first like 7 or 8 years that I was in the industry, and then just recently it's been a shoot up. But you know, this brings the question, you know, has the campgrounds change the way people camp, or has the people's needs, the RVers' needs change and wants change the campgrounds?
I mean, I think, you know, that's a good question. I think, you know, and I don't, you know, I work with a lot of park owners, and I don't want to say that they're not innovative, but there's definitely a section of park owners that just kind of, you know, sit with what they have. And I
Yeah,
think, you know, any business is like
it's
that.
worked for the
You know,
last 40 years. Why am I
yeah,
going to change it now? Yeah,
yeah. Look at Kodak, or you know, that's a memorable one, or Blockbuster. You know, they just kind of sat, you know, and didn't really move a lot. And I think there are quite a few park owners like that that just kind of, you know, we're just going to stick with what we have. And then there are definitely park owners who are more willing to adapt, or like see something down the road and change things. But I think the consumer interest definitely drives that. I mean, when you're looking at a 200 site campground and you're talking about making additions or expansions or things, that costs a lot of money. So I think
oh yeah,
on the park owner perspective, they want to see that demand. And so I think when they start seeing RVers show up and they ask for certain things, and that's kind of the direction that they'll go in when they're adding amenities or expanding and different things like that.
yeah.
So I
So
think it's definitely consumer driven to some degree. So
yeah,
yeah,
so whether you're adding plumbing to each site, you know, as far as like
yeah,
full sewer hookups, that's a lot of digging, a lot of pipe to be laid,
yep,
or you're adding high-speed Wi-Fi throughout that whole campground, and that could be, you know, hundreds of acres spread out, and that could be very expensive as well to get good Wi-Fi out there. So I can imagine they want to make sure that they're going to have the audience that's going to help them reimburse that investment.
yeah. And then I think you see that in glamping too. I mean, if you go to a traditional campground, a lot of them are adding cabins or tents or whatever now. But I
Right.
think, you know, the parks are waiting for that demand. They either do their own research, or they just wait until they hear enough from campers and like, well, maybe I should add a cabin or a tent. You know, so that's kind of what we're seeing on the glamping side too, is that the camper demand is kind of driving what parks do on that end. There are
Yeah.
some parks that kind of do we want to do it and we'll fill it approach. So like, you know, they'll build, you know, all these glamping units and then they just work to fill it marketing wise, and they kind of do some of their own market research. But I think some of it, a lot of it is, you know, what the campers are saying to the owners. So.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it is an investment, right? Like I've done some research recently looking at some of these yurts and cabins that are out there, and they're spectacular. I
Yeah.
mean, it costs a lot to build these things. They're fully heated, fully
Yep.
insulated, fully air conditioned. They have, you know, ice makers, there's ovens and stove tops and the refrigerators and the sinks and great showers. Some of them even have 2 bathrooms. And I'm like,
Yep.
wow, what's going on here? This is like, it's a small home. It really is.
Yeah, I stayed in a cabin at I live in Michigan. I stayed at a cabin earlier in the summer at a Campgrounds of America park, and yeah, it had 2 bathrooms, it had 2 bedrooms, and you know,
A loft or something. I mean,
yeah, a patio outside with a seat and a fire pit. So I mean, a really beautiful cabin. Yeah, and they're going all out. And I think the other aspect is for glamping is the hospitality part. So, you know, you can set up a cabin. Is that really glamping? I mean, I guess if you're a tent camper and you get to stay the night in a cabin, it kind of feels like glamping. But you know, the glamping, the definition is more of the hospitality too. So from a park owner's perspective, they've got to look at that as well. You know, you can set up your yurts, but then you've also got to give that hospitality aspect and maybe provide like linens or provide different services that maybe you just don't do for RVers. So
that's right. Yeah, they you know they're
yeah,
going to it like it's a hotel room. So yeah,
yeah,
they
yep,
expect that you know you can get turn down service and all these things, and you know have a place to get snacks and whatever. And some of them even offer restaurant service. I've seen
yeah.
some of the high end KOAs. They have like gourmet restaurants in their main lodge.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you so there's a CRR Hospitality, which is another group. They have some parks out west. They do amazing things with chefs. So they're actually bringing in professional chefs to help run their restaurants, and then they actually deliver food to their sites and do these culinary experiences. There's other places too. There's other groups too that do that, and other amazing campgrounds and resorts that do that as well. So they're, you know, people nowadays want the experiences as well. So they're trying to create experiences that they can't get anywhere else, whether it's through food, whether it's through tour packages, whether it's through things they can do at the park that you can't do anywhere else.
Oh wow.
All those different things. So yeah,
I think it's a wonderful evolution, and it's a good way for people to kind of say, I wonder if I'd like RVing. And I think liking RVing is liking the people that you're RVing with, right? So at least if you're glamping for a little while and you can do that and say, yeah, I actually like that people are a little bit nosy and they want to chat and they want to, you know, bring their puppy over or whatever it may be, or come visit us and just say hi. I mean, that's the whole experience. And once you get used to that, and then it's like, yeah, we should buy an RV. And that's the end. That's what you really want to happen, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's what, you know, obviously the RV industry is, you know, hoping that happens. And, you know, I think if we can get people really invested, what's interesting is there are people that'll just invest in the glamping lifestyle to some degree too. So that's been great for park owners as well. They'll just stay in cabins. You know, maybe they don't have a parking spot for an RV, or they don't want to drive an RV. So that's been something we've been seeing more of as well. People just renting out the cabins or the yurts or whatever, and utilizing that on a yearly basis. So,
You know, and it's so much different, you know, like going to a hotel, you're in an elevator, someone steps in and you don't even say hi to them. You don't even communicate with them. Like, what number do you want? You know, boom, and that's it. And but in an RV park, and whether you're glamping or you're in a pop-up or you're in a 45-foot diesel, people want to say hi. It's like, yeah, this is the reason why we're here is to socialize. So it really adds a lot of community to your vacations.
Yeah, I think the kids aspect, especially when you go to parks that are family friendly,
Right.
just letting your kids be able to go enjoy things and be able to maybe play with other kids and have some of those experiences it's awesome. And then, yeah, obviously on the adult side, being able to have conversations with people who enjoy the same types of lifestyle that you enjoy. So
That's
it's,
fantastic.
yeah.
So what have been some of the most prevalent and profound changes that you've seen in these campgrounds?
Well, I think, we just talked about the accommodation. I think that's got to be like one of the biggest things. And
Yeah.
Toby O'Rourke, the CEO of KOA, actually just did an interview about that for Hotel News Now. She had a podcast with them, and she actually talks about that. Is this the breadth of experiences that people can have while they're camping? So, and that includes like all of the accommodation units, which is just, it's amazing. The glamping show Americas is coming up here soon at the end of September, which is a big
Okay.
glamping industry event. And they're going to have 100 vendors outside with 100 units set up out near Denver. And I mean, you see everything. There's space age units all the way up to mirrored cabins. And last year there was a 3D printed cabin. So, I mean, just the breadth of stuff that people can put
Really?
in their campgrounds, it's amazing. And then, and then also the breadth of services that parks offer now. You can find a campground that's, pretty basic and offers some basic stuff, or you can go to like a high-end KOA or a resort or a Jellystone. I mean, Jellystones nowadays just offer a tremendous amount of stuff. They do full activity calendars. They have the water features. They
Yeah.
do jumping pillows, ponds, canoeing, fishing. I mean, there's just so
The
many.
entertainment value is
Yeah.
unbelievable. People don't realize. They think they're going to sit at their campsite and
Yeah.
poke the campfire. There's plenty to do, right?
Yeah, there is. I mean, obviously, it depends on what you want to do. Obviously, and that's the great thing about the industry. Obviously, there are some great parks. If you just want to go park your RV, maybe have a pool and a few basic things, you can find a park to do that at. If you want the full water park experience, you can go to a Jellystone or another park that offers that. And you can have that whole water park experience along with the camping. And do something. If you want to go to an adults only park, there are adults only parks where kids
Right.
aren't allowed, and then there are parks where I think it's mainly just kids. I don't think the kids drive the RVs, but you don't see a lot of parents. So, but it's so I think that's one of the great things about the industry, and I think since COVID, people have realized that they realized, wow, I didn't realize how much diversity or things to do there was in the industry until COVID. So
Yeah, they just thought it was hiding out, and a lot of people didn't realize the
yeah,
social aspect of it is so incredible. Hey, so
yeah.
what has I know there's been some investment companies that have been buying parks or building different campgrounds around the country. How has that affected the campground industry?
I mean, I think it offers like what we just said. I think it offers a lot more variety. The new investors that are coming in tend to be savvier on the real estate side,
Yep.
so they're coming in and making these investments in these parks, which is great because there have been some great parks that have been around for 40, 50, 60 years and haven't really changed a lot. And some of that's good. And obviously, from an RVer perspective, change can be rough. But some of these parks did need upgraded. And, it helps the entire industry it changes people's perception of the industry when they come into these parks and they're more modernized and they're newer and you have the modern amenities and people want to stay longer. So I think that's been great, seeing some of these parks come back to life again. There's been some concern that it's, consolidation, and nobody likes that word. And it's turning too corporate, and we're losing some of the family feel maybe at some of the parks. But I don't know. There's a ton of family owned parks still. There's a ton of different parks out there for whatever you want to do. And so if you want to find a small mom and pop park and go do that, you still can. But if you want like a Sun Communities experience where you're going to be at a park that offers a ton more and offers more of a resort experience, you can do that as well. So I think it's been pretty positive overall for the industry, though.
Yeah, it seems like there's a good choice for people that want to do old school kind of camping.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of campgrounds to do that. But this opens it up to a whole new demographic of end user of the campground, right? It brings in different types of people where it seemed like, you know, when I first started working in the RV industry just 15 years ago, that, you know, the average RVer sounded like they could be camping in their backyard and they're already good to go. Like they lived on a big property and this and that, and they went camping on vacation. And then, you know, the people that were more like urban-esque or, you know, like crowded suburb kind of people didn't go camping as much. Well, now this has opened it up quite a bit. Like this whole thing is, you find every type of person from every type of background doing these RV trips now.
Yeah, I think the hardest hit campers are probably the ones who have been doing it for 20, 30 years. They have like generations of family that have been coming. And you know, I read stories all the time about generations of family coming to one park, and then the park, it was sold recently and the new owners come in, and obviously the new owners more than likely are going to want to make some changes. And you know, that creates bitterness to some degree. There's an ownership aspect there. It's been really hard for the owners as well, especially newer owners who are taking over these properties because, and I think, you know, to some degree at these long-term properties, the prices have remained stagnant for years. So, you know, the new owners come in and they want to move up the prices a little bit because they want to make improvements to the park, and it takes money. Nothing's free, and, you know, inflation and everything. So I think that's been the hard part is not necessarily the owners aren't coming in wanting to ruin the park. They just are trying to improve it and trying to make money because it's a business.
Come up to the trends of the day, right? Well, I mean, some of these parks really needed some renovation, and they might have been on a little bit of a decline as far as participation is concerned too. That you know, we don't hear about those parts of it, right? That, you know, the campground was actually struggling when they sold it or whatever, and that is a commonality in the industry, and it really could use a facelift.
Yeah, and I think the ownership aspect, you know, when you have campers that have camped in a spot for like 30 years and they brought multiple family generations, you know, they do have that ownership aspect. And, you know, a lot of times it turns into a family. So the park owners are kind of like family. And then all of a sudden one day they just kind of sell the park, and the campers are left wondering, well, what happened to our family? And it is hard. And
it's a little bit of a heart-wrenching thing, you know? You lose your friend. You lose one of your best friends.
So, you know, I think a lot of that's been going on in the industry. And to some degree, that's created some of the negative feedback we see on our end as well, is just that kind of change. But, you know, change happens. But I think for the outdoor hospitality industry in general, all of this change has been really good. And it's kind of helped government officials and, you know, people understand better what the industry offers, and it's going to make the industry stronger in the future, you know, moving forward, which is important. So,
hey, you know, I get a lot of customers that come in and they're very concerned about being able to find a campsite. What do you have to say to folks when they're concerned about availability of campsites when they're searching for a camper?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I talked to park owners this year, for one, I think there are more campsites available this year than in the last couple of years. The COVID stuff slowed down, so, you know, we're getting more. You know, it's still busy, but we're getting more back to normal. I guess I don't know if I'd call it normal, but we're getting more steadier, and so campsites are available now more than they were maybe the last couple of years. So that's good. I mean,
whenever more campgrounds opened up recently too.
Yeah. Yep. whenever we're talking about the hot destinations, I mean, if you're going to go to Yosemite, yeah, you're going to need to book that ahead of time. So it's not going to be easy to find a campsite near Yosemite or Yellowstone or, you know, any of the real popular destinations. It's never, I don't know if it's ever been easy to find a campsite near those areas, but you know, so when you're looking at your vacation, obviously you got to take that into consideration. Well, where am I going? And is it going to be extremely popular? But I think overall in general, you know, the campsite situation, there's campsites available. And I think, you know, we have websites like Spot Tonight, Book Outdoors, different places like that that have come around that help people find campsites. You know, the industry's been trying to work on, you know, consolidating its booking, kind of like the hotel industry, to where, you know, maybe you don't have to go to 10 different sites to find all the campgrounds in an area. But, you know, that's something the industry's been trying to work on. It, you know, it does take more research to find parks sometimes.
Yeah, there's some apps that will really
Yeah.
help you do that. Like you mentioned, Spot Tonight. They're one of my favorite apps because, you know, they really have integrated their systems into a lot of the booking systems for the campgrounds, and it makes it really easy for people to see thousands of sites, hundreds of campgrounds at the same time.
Yeah. And you know, that's one of the things that kind of frustrates people about the industry. It's just not easy, like the hotel industry, to find stuff. You definitely have to do more research. But you know, if you talk to some RVers, I think they enjoy that research aspect to some degree. You know, the trip planning is fun too. Finding
Right.
where you're going to stay, you know, so that's kind of an exciting part of an RV experience too, is just the planning and finding where you're going to be going and things like that. But you know, I think as time moves on, that booking process is going to be a little bit easier for RVers, and maybe the trip planning process will continue to get easier, especially with AI now, you know, coming on board, and a lot of the booking software systems are using AI. So it'll be interesting to see what comes down the road. So,
Well, we've talked a lot about where campgrounds were and what they've evolved to today.
yeah.
Have you thought about what may possibly happen in the future? Like, are we going to have campgrounds in space or something like that? I mean, take a look. If you look at my slate here, this camper is actually levitated off the ground. Do you think that's going to happen anytime soon?
I don't know why that would ever happen. I don't know why you need a levitating RV.
Hey, I don't know. I'm just trying to get creative here. Yeah.
I guess maybe if you're like float, if it drives that way, I don't know. I think we got to get flying
George
cars.
Jetson.
We got to get
And
flying
kind of-
cars before
and
we
it
do
hovers,
flying
yeah.
RVs. Yeah. What's really interesting, if people go to campthefuture.com and you look
Really?
at and you look at some of the work that KOA did years ago, I think it was in 2019 when they did a special thing with RVIA for their show out in Salt Lake City.
Right.
If you go to campthefuture.com and take a look at some of the ideas that came out of that, you know, aspects, they talk about certain things about what they see in the future for camping. Some of this stuff they already do. They've already implemented some of this kind of stuff, but it's kind of interesting. It just kind of gives a neat little perspective into what they think could be cool. I think, you know, as we're looking in the next 5 to 10 years, the technology is going to continue to get better. The camper booking experience is going to continue to get better. More parks are going to expand and add like the full hookup sites, where we might see more EV technology. The Wi-Fi is going to continue to get better in the streaming. So just some of on the tech side, I think park owners are going to continue to add more amenities. People are really looking for like business centers now so that they can stay longer at campgrounds and different aspects like that, just to make people stay longer. So I think that's some of the stuff more immediate. And then maybe down the road, we can do the levitating RVs, and maybe we'll have transporters. Although if they had transporters, that might kill the RV industry. I don't know. So I don't know.
Well, if it can transport the RV too, so
Yeah,
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 you punch
something.
in a code, take me to Yellowstone, zap, and just hope there's a site there. But yeah,
Yeah, I think some of the neat aspects of what Campgrounds of America did is just, bringing people closer to nature. They have some pictures of like pods hanging off the side of a mountain, which I would never do. But just some of these really neat experiences that get you closer to nature. So being able to find a way to connect people with nature, but still have all this technology is going to be interesting, and how people use the technology to connect with nature. So,
hey, let's take a quick look at your website here, and let's go over some of the important features that people might find, especially campground owners. If you're not subscribed to Woodall's Campground magazine, I highly recommend that you do so.
yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about some of the offerings you have.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I mentioned before, we do the print magazine. We have the, which you can subscribe. Our subscribe page is there on the left, and there's a one at the top there. And it's all for free. So we will mail an issue of the magazine. It's monthly. We do 13 issues a year. We have 12 regular issues, and then one directory, like a industry directory that we mail out. And then you can also sign up for our emails. Like I mentioned before, we'll send 5 days a week to your inbox, and then we do a roundup of the top news stories of the week on Saturday morning. And then, we do a variety of different content. We have columnists like Mark Kep, who's there at the top of the page. He is probably pretty familiar to RVers. He operates campgroundviews.com, and he was a full-time RVer for 12 years, and he writes a column for us on marketing. And then we have some park owners that write columns for us as well. And then we just do industry news. We have like the KOA CEO podcast. She was on a podcast, and then some campground industry news. And then we also look through news sites all around the country. We have Mike Tyson there. He wants to.
What's going on with this?
He wants to do a glamping operation where he can show people what the growing marijuana process is like. And, agritourism is huge. And that's something we didn't talk about. Agritourism is just exploding right now, where people want to be able to go to a farm, glamp, or RV there, kind of like Harvest Host, and be able to experience the agritourism. I mean, there are people out there that will milk goats, they'll milk cows, they'll do chores at a farm just for that.
You could join Mike Tyson and roll your own, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could be smoking weed with Tyson here soon. So, I mean, it's incredible that people just want experiences, and it's just incredible what people are doing. So that's what we offer at Woodall's. We have our show, WCM's Park Update, that I do with Mike Gast, a former vice president of communications at Campgrounds of America. We host the show once a week, where we bring in industry insiders and talk about trends and all things.
Here it is. I love this here. So is this the one right here? Yeah.
Yep.
Update.
Yep. We had Timber Hut on last week, which is a custom park model RV builder.
This is WCM's Park Update.
Yeah.
Weekly show covering the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Ben Quiggle and Mike Gass.
We do our best.
During each episode, you'll hear from special guests and campground experts on topics that will help your park flourish.
All right. So folks, if you want to see Ben, and you can watch the WCM Park Update every week, sign up for Woodall's Campground magazine. Even if you're an RVer, there's a lot of fantastic information. And I bet that you did not know about the campground industry. There's so many wonderful things going on. And you could always reach out to Ben and his team over here at woodallscm.com. And boy, this has been a wonderful visit here, buddy. I can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I always love to talk about the industry and Woodall's. So it's been great to be on the show. All
right. God bless. And hope to see you in person real time. Where are you going to be? Are you going to be going camping anytime soon?
I don't think I have any more trips camping. I will be at the RV open house, the dealer open house they do here in Elkhart here in a couple weeks. I've never been to Hershey. They don't let me go to Hershey. So we have some other people that do Hershey. I got to get out there someday, but yeah, so, and I'll be at some campground industry conferences here in November as well, and at the glamping show at the beginning of October. So,
all right, folks, if you like this episode of RV Game Changer, please subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn, and we'll see you again next time.
Ready to buy or sell your RV? Visit RV Realtor. If you're selling, we guarantee you a buyer at your agreed upon price. If you're buying, we'll help you find the RV of your dreams and introduce you directly to the owner. RV Realtor, where your adventure begins.
And if you want to find the latest episode of RV Game Changer, make sure you go to rvtoday.tv, where you find our latest episode along with a lot of great information, tips and tricks, and videos of RVing Today TV. If you want to get a hold of me, go to RV Game Changer on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and make sure to subscribe. Have a wonderful week, and God bless.